So, sisters, are we coming out of this time of COVID weaker or stronger? This past year of lockdown, of social distancing, of businesses closing, including your own museum and goddess temple, and of people wearing masks and not hugging anymore and staying away from each other. This is a very interesting opportunity for us as goddess women. As individuals, we are always either building divine energy in our body, mind, heart, spirit, ecosystem, you might call it, or it's being depleted. We're losing it. It's draining away. All of this happens at a level beneath most women's daily conscious notice, but whether you are in the momentary process of gaining divine energy or losing it, to some degree, it is always taking place, one direction or another. No universe that goddess creates ever stays static or the same for very long. She is the ultimate creatrix, and it is in the nature of the ultimate creatrix to be ever creative and always creating. You know the old saying, and it is really true, the one thing we can count on to stay constant is the state of constant change. And I always like Wayne's World, Garth in Wayne's World. Most of us fear change. So once we get comfortable in a certain set of circumstances, we want it all to stay just like that. But it doesn't. It can't. The system is not made that way. Change is the way Goddess brings divine energy to life. It is up to us to consciously collect it and to let it flow through us unimpeded. The path of gaining divine energy is definitely not a straight upward line, not a linear path to some perfect place. We are not necessarily continually ever evolving into greater and greater states. You know, you can be on a great path and then you can stumble and fall off it for a while. And we've all seen this. We've seen how a woman can be spiritually minded. She can be learning and putting into practice great metaphysical truths. She definitely appears to be evolving towards something more of herself. And in fact, that is what's happening. Her life is getting cleaned up. Things are getting better. But then somehow something can happen. Maybe she gets cocky. Maybe her ego takes over. Maybe she gets too full of herself. Maybe she loses her humility. Maybe she starts taking her good fortune for granted. Maybe she's not appreciative anymore. Whatever it is, we know that a fall can happen. It does happen. Evolution, in any kind of evolution, but particularly spiritual evolution, is not necessarily a straight line to goodness, to power, to strength, to beauty. And we have seen this with many once great spiritual teachers. The path is narrow, and it gets narrower as you evolve because all your energies are pitched on the knife edge of life. You must remain conscious because in the not paying of attention, you may fall off that edge. And you all know the saying, pay in attention now or pay in pain later. Even more, as the path gets narrower, at the same time, you have to remain relaxed because any tension of your body, mind, heart, spirit system will tend to exhaust you. And exhausted travelers tend to make bad mistakes. You know, you make a misstep at 14,000 feet and you can probably recover. You lose your focus and awareness at 26,000 feet, you're in the death zone and you might just slide right off that mountain. So, you know, this is not to frighten myself or anyone else. It's simply to encourage awareness of the reality of how it works, being a spiritual being in a human body. And the body itself is spiritual, of course. It's all one. It's all the same. So right now we have this amazing thing happening to all of us that we're calling a pandemic, but it is so much more than just that. It is an opportunity to do something completely different, an opportunity to gain divine energy and to come out of this stronger and more aware of our wholeness, more powerful, more in charge of our lives, more prosperous even, more aware. And what have a lot of us been doing? Well, moping around, complaining on Facebook about the government, being depressed, some of us even suicidal, watching a lot of very coarse energy TV entertainment, while eating a bunch of crap food and drinking too much alcohol or smoking too much weed. I have a great sensitivity to and a sense of feeling for those women experiencing depression or fear, because there is certainly no dearth of bullshit to be depressed or fearful about in this male-centric world. But the truth remains, in spite of living in overall world conditions that we women cannot immediately entirely control or change, we must control what we can. We must take ourselves in hand, and we must do the things we know that we can do that help us stop losing divine energy and start gaining it. The time when we are able to slowly come out of this weird era of COVID appears to be approaching. Maybe this summer, who knows? Those people who have not used this time well will be coming out of it weaker, will be somehow less than they were before. When we do all start returning to whatever the new normal is, Goddess knows what that world is going to look like. But we Goddess women are not those people. Goddess women know, no matter how bad patriarchy is, the dominator model of society is, it remains true that a huge percentage of our safety, our prosperity, our health, our love lies largely in our own hands and depends pretty much on continuing to gather divine energy while remaining aware of everything around us. We're not burying our heads in the sand. We know what's going on, but we're going to continue building divine energy so we can manage what's going on and let ourselves be in the best possible position. Goddess women are using this time to build their divine energy for their life, not let it dribble away. So, that's the question. How do we build divine energy for our lives right now or at any time in our lives? How do we ensure that we will come out of this stronger and more together, more prosperous, more safe, more happy, more joyful than we were before we went into lockdown? And there are some wonderful ways to build divine energy, which we share in the Queen Teachings for Women. But the first thing is to become aware of where you may be allowing your energy to drain away, to dribble away. There is no point building energy if what you collect is slowly leaking out your bottom. There are 1,000 things that drain energy on a daily basis. And some of the more common ways are complaining on the phone to your friends, eating low life force foods, which is basically processed food, spending too much time on your devices and screens, aimlessly scrolling Facebook because you're procrastinating on that important work that you really want to do, drinking soda instead of water, drinking too much wine or beer or whatever at night while you're watching TV, watching the news when it frightens you or when it puts you in a bad mood or makes you very angry all the time, gossiping negatively, reading trash gossip magazines, not having a focus for your day, just watching the next YouTube that's offered up without thinking about your intentions for that time, staying up late watching horror movies or other crap TV, binge watching. Binge watching is a form of addiction, even though we don't think of it that way. Even if we don't binge watch all the time, if you do binge watch, you're in a moment of addiction for a few hours where you are just sort of mindlessly not making decisions for yourself, but just watching the next show, watching the next thing that comes up that's given to you without you thinking about whether it's appropriate for you to go get some rest or to do something different. All addictions are a process of reducing divine energy because addiction means that you're not consciously acting. You're acting compulsively. Another way is getting up late and not making your bed. Another way we lose energy is that, especially during this time, we think because no one is going to see me, it's okay to hang out in our sweats all day, or worse, never even get into your sweats, never get out of your bathrobe, and you don't bother to deliberately get dressed for a successful day, whatever that means to you. You don't get dressed for other people. You get well dressed for whatever your focus or work is that day. You get well dressed to bring a message to your body, to your heart, to your mind, to your spirit. Bring a message of energy and purpose. You feel differently when you're well dressed for your particular work, whatever it is. You know you do, because it is part of your intentionality for the day. It's part of you showing self-respect. It doesn't have anything to do with whether other people are going to see you or not. They are never the point, ever. You see you. You feel you. So those are just a few ways that women unwittingly allow themselves to lose energy over time. Pretty much all misery, I believe, is due to the fact that we don't have enough divine energy in our bodies at a given moment. You have not consciously collected enough for your current needs. People think that they are happy or unhappy, up or down, strong or weak, depressed or joyful, because of the things that happen to them. If something bad happens, then they feel down. But if you think about it, that's not actually how it works. Of course, if something huge happens, if your beloved dog dies, for example, then of course your spirit is going to be deeply affected. But external events affect us, have the power to affect us far less than we give them credit for. We've all had the experience where we wake up feeling strong, feeling great, feeling optimistic, and then some crappy thing happens, but it doesn't really get to us. We just solve it and we carry on. Those are the days when the divine energy of the universe is strong in your body. And then, you've had other days when you're feeling depressed, you're feeling weak, you're feeling pessimistic, and something simple happens, you break a shoelace and you just dissolve into a puddle of tears. And those are the days when your divine energy that you've collected in your body is very low or very weak, very disconnected. This amazing time that we're in is a time for us to consciously build our divine energy and come out of this COVID time even stronger, no matter what is happening around us. And there are many things that you can do to build divine energy. And we teach those tactics and strategies in the Queen Teachings for Women. If you are interested, let us know. Send us an email and we'll tell you how to receive them. One easy thing that you can do is make it a habit to plan your next day right before you go to bed. Before you start preparing for an early bedtime, because every study in the world has showed that people who get to bed earlier are truly healthier and live more productive and joyful and happy lives. So before you start preparing for an early bedtime, you sit at your desk and if you don't have a desk, there's a YouTube that we talk about why you must have your own space as queen of your realm, why you must have your own space. So you sit at your desk and write in an affirmative style just a few sentences. This takes you less than 2 minutes about like a narrative of what you want to have unfold for the next day. Write it out as a 1-paragraph, super short story about a woman's life, your life, the life you are choosing to create. Here's an example. I rise early and walk the dogs in the freshness of the dawning light. I confidently dress for my day of writing. I enjoy a delightful and wholesome brunch at about 11 a.m. and then spend 3 positive and fulfilling hours at my beautiful desk making great progress on my book. I feel a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment with my lovely day of productive inspiration. Now, of course, it is true, sometimes your day may not go exactly as planned. The narrative I just repeated above was basically my affirmation story for my day yesterday. But then a neighbor died suddenly, and I wanted to support his wife. And so I willingly chucked all my day's plans. And of course, that happens occasionally. We do well to be flexible. But in general, deciding the evening before how you wish your next precious day to go has a great overall influence on events that unfold in your life day to day. It gives your body, mind, spirit, heart, ecosystem a template, a plan to follow. And the mind particularly likes to follow a plan. It makes it feel secure. So write your next day into being. Decide that you are going to come out of this stronger, more powerful, more peaceful, more calm, more focused, more intentional, more clear, more compassionate with yourself, more in love with life, whatever the changes are that she is bringing. Because as the goddess chant goes, that old one that I learned a long, long time ago, she changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. So let the changes favor you. Blessed be.